Okay, and we're ready to go. So thank you for. I just want to start off by saying thank you for the engagement on the last video. It's fantastic. I had a lot of fun reading everybody's comments. so yeah, I'm looking forward to the conversation we have around this one. The premise of which is why is Lorne, or why I believe Lorne is one of the worst predators, at least caught on the show. Maybe just even in general. And and if it were not for his stupidity, he would be incredibly. I think he's dangerous, but if he were a little bit smarter, he would be even more dangerous, which is hard to imagine. But anyway, I wanted to talk about why I think he's one of the worst. I mean, on the show, you see the kind of people that are people have done it before. Like I think Kevin Westerbeck was one of them, who was literally on his way into court to see if he would have to register as a sex offender when he got caught on the show, which is crazy to me. That someone who got caught doing it and was sentenced for doing it was doing the same thing again. I believe it was one of his family members or something. Really, really, like what a piece of work. But I think that Lorne is really no better than the likes of him, to be honest with you. And the reason I kind of came to this conclusion when thinking about it. This tends to be what I do. Is I kind of I listen to streams, and I listen to people's analysis. The kind of logography community, and I kind of take something away, and I kind of just think about it for a couple of days and say, okay, I'm going to make a video on that. So that's probably why I don't have an upload schedule, nor will I make one, because I'm just way too inconsistent right now. So I just kind of as and when they come up. But yeah, going back to why I think Lorne's one of the worst and why he's probably one of the most dangerous is that there's a couple of reasons actually. The first of all is his impulse control is non-existent. It's actually scary how little impulse control he has when we think about kind of not only in how he engaged with who he thought was Kayla, but everything we've seen in the calls since. He will say what's on his mind. Now, the way Lorne, and I think I brought this up before, but the way Lorne is, it's like it's not alien to really anyone to have those emotions that Lorne has, that he tends to display, the kind of jealousy, the rage, and the kind of the irrationality. It's more how often and how intense those emotions appear. So, for example, when he's upset about the doctor and he's saying, I don't like him, and why is he right there? I'm sure we've all been in relationships where we've had kind of jealousy or something like that, but very rarely do we. I mean, I can just speak for myself. Of course I've had those kind of emotions in a relationship before, founded or unfounded, but it's one thing to feel that, and it's another thing to then not have the control to not say it, say it out loud. He's almost saying the quiet part out loud, and it's very odd that he would tell people what annoys him and what is a threat to him in very blunt terms, which if you think people are messing with you, which I think he did, or he does, why would you give him that kind of ammo to wind you up even more? Which is why we saw with the Ramona situation, the doctor was a very small character, kind of a background character, and they kind of came, and it just inched his way into Ramona's life, and it sent him off the wall. And they knew they could get away with it because he said, "Oh, he's a threat to me." He literally came out and said he's a threat to me. Now, I don't think, even in my most jealous of times, have I ever said, "Oh, so and so is a threat to me." You kind of think it. You kind of think, "Oh, are they? Are they not? Maybe I should play this cool." But no impulse control, no emotional intelligence at all. He'll just say whatever's on his mind, and then just come out with it. It's absolutely it's insane to kind of think that a person like that is going around, and it's not just in the kind of quote unquote romantic part of his life that this happens. It seems to be in all aspects of his life. The excessive drinking. I mean, the reason he was put on probation for not being able to consume alcohol at all was, again, no impulse control. We went over that in one of the earlier videos about the Nikki situation. That whole thing happened, and then that demonstrated a really, you're going into your sex offender class where you've been told as a consequence of your probation to at least control the amount of alcohol that you consume. And what do you go out and do? Is you go out and you drink before class and come in drunk. And I've not heard this myself, but I've heard people who I would trust to say this is true. Apparently, when the excuse he came up with was when he was drunk, was that he had fruit juice or something. like he can't even be honest with himself. Or no, can Lorne be honest with himself? I don't think so. Yeah, I don't think. I think he would come up with any excuse to justify, and it's your fault that I feel like this, and you brought this all on. It's no impulse. He's no emotional intelligence, no impulse control. He does whatever he wants, whenever he wants, and to be damned with the consequences. I mean, one of the most dangerous things he does regularly was drink drive, and we know that he'd been in trouble for drink driving before. Remember, he came into, I've only ever had an OUI edits. And I think the reason he does it so blasely now is because he's never, and there's evidence to say that more recently he's been sober in terms of generally off the alcohol altogether, but in terms of what he, let me kind of rewind. In terms of the drink driving, I think because he didn't have any real kind of punishment for it, he just thought he could do it again, and has been doing it at least for the couple of years that we were in contact before he got locked up again. And I always wonder if Horatio knew that he was drink driving, and he came up with excuses. I think he got a cab one time, we heard, and his friend Silent Rick picked him up, and it took 5 seconds to realize, oh yeah, he's drinking and driving. So that's kind of number one, zero impulse control. And kind of to back end off of that, it's the second point is also having being dangerously stupid, being incredibly stupid. That's a dangerous combination when you have someone with very low to zero impulse control, and they are just, in my opinion, stupid. Like there's no other way. I was trying to think of a more delicate way of saying it and a more PC way of saying it, but I there's nothing other than stupid. I mean, think about all the situations he's been in since he got out of prison. Even before he was in prison, there was the Amanda James situation where he got catfished for 2 years. I'm sure that I would love to know more about that story, but I'm sure there's more to that story. He got catfished for 2 years, and I think he even said in one call that even after he found out that she wasn't who she said she was, they still kept talking for 6 months. And you're like, you can't believe that. But then we saw it in real time with the Ramona situation where she came out and said, I'm not who you think I am, and I've been posting all the calls we've had on the internet, and you're a pedophile and blah blah. My name's Ramona Quimby from a book and all that kind of stuff. And still, months later, he comes crawling back because, again, I said it before, I'll say it again. The root of his being is that he's incredibly lonely. He has no one. So he will crawl back to whatever abusive, toxic, just nasty relationship that he tends to be in. We saw that with the Winnie character when, again, after Ramona happened, he thought for some reason that Casey Morrow would be interested. And when he found out that she wasn't real, she wasn't who she said she was, and turned into Winnie, he was still around. It's absolutely insane. So that's what I mean by dangerous. Like dangerously stupid is yeah. It's like that. It's that, but just compounded. And that's exactly what he is. He's just really, really stupid. It's no other way to say it. It's really. I mean, I think maybe what I'm trying to say instead of stupidity, and it's his inability to learn from situations, learn from past experiences. He seems to be repeating the same thing over and over again, the same patterns of behavior, the same. And we've even seen it. We did the video. We kind of went back and saw he was very much the same person when he was talking to Nikki before anyone was in contact with him, as him from the community. And then you fast forward to now. There's some more recent stuff that's come out, and it's the same thing. Inability to learn. He knows he's been messed with time and time again. He knows he's out on the internet. He knows there's a community around him, and he knows anytime he's on the phone with anyone but his probation and his family, he could be recorded and put out there. But he still continues down the same track, screaming and yelling and drink driving and admitting it on the phone and all this kind of. just destructive behavior, not even self-destructive. It's just generally destructive behavior that could and has already harmed people around him, and he still doesn't learn. It's absolutely it's insane to me. It's insane to me that is his situation. It's crazy. Um, and well, that's I'll kind of put that to bed for now. Dangerously stupid / inability to learn from his past experiences, which is mind blowing. Yeah. So also another thing is that he doesn't take responsibility. And again, tying back with the stupidity part, not even he doesn't even give the air of taking responsibility, which would get a lot of people off his back. If he came out and said, again, I think I've said this before, but if he came out and said that, you know, what happened with the catch predator situation, I was sexually attracted to Kato at the time, and I wanted. By the way, I'm saying this. I'm saying as if Lorne's saying it. Don't clip this. Let's say I said it. So I'm going to cut myself off there. Hang on. Okay. So yeah. If he came out and admitted what he did and admitted that he wanted to do it and said, "I'm taking steps to be better," even if he didn't believe it, people would leave. A lot more people would leave him alone. Not everyone would. Maybe not even most people would, but there'll be a significant chunk of people that say, "Okay, he'd learned from his mistake, and we can't leave him alone." But he's again too stupid to do that. And he doesn't take responsibility. Now, he could have been in a much better place if he would have been out of his sex offender class, which, as far as we know, he's still into this day. Still into this day. He's been out of prison, 2012? So it's been, it's coming up to 10 years out of his original prison stint. And he still hasn't been able to pass. People who have committed actual crimes in his class have been able to pass, and he hasn't. Because he thinks he didn't do anything wrong. He thinks that, like, deep down, he really thinks, or maybe doesn't really think, but he has to think that he did nothing wrong for his survival. I don't know what he would do if he really truly was introspective and actually saw, because we saw again with the kind of Debbie calls where she's talking to him about his crime and they're going through the chat log and she's trying to get to the bottom of, trying to show him the bottom of what he did, kind of get to the root of it. You know, you did it because you were attracted to an underage girl, and we thought that he was making progress, and you think, oh my goodness, he's finally seen it. And again, going back to my second point, he didn't. At the end, nothing. Water for ducks back, nothing, absolutely nothing. He went back to the same excuse and never wanted to go. It's not my fault. I didn't get deviled eggs and mac and cheese and macaroni or whatever the hell whatever it was. My family treated me wrong, and I'm sorry this went the way, but it's because my life has been messed up. But he never takes responsibility, never. And it's for anything. When he's screaming and shouting at any of his catfish, it's, you made me do it. Look what you brought on. Or his jealousy is like, you put him, like when you talk about the doctor, you put him there. I didn't put him there. You put him there. It's always someone else's fault. It's never his fault, ever. So he never takes responsibility, not for the crime he committed or anything else in his life. And it's amazing that someone could go through life, floating through life like that. And it's a cautionary tale. Like I say, Lorne is a great inverse role model. Like do anything but what he does. Just model your life on the complete opposite of what he does. And so the kind of last point I had here, which is maybe the most dark, so I want to give you fair warning on that, is that with the situation, with the To Catch a Predator situation, is that he had done it before. He had real victims, 2 that we know of. The story around them isn't fully clear, but from what he's told us, I think there's a kernel of truth to that, but he's done what he's known for before, which is it's upsetting to say the least that there are real victims out there. But yet still, when he was talking to Debbie Tiffany about this, he was saying things that he thought that she wanted to hear, not what he actually thought. So when he's talking about the little trip to the fair, he talks about how we decided to do that. We decided, oh, it's some of her. It was her again, shifting responsibility again. It's all like intermingled, shifting responsibility. Oh, it's kind of we decided this, and we did this, and we. It's like she's a child, Lorne. There's no we. It's you. You are the responsible adult. Everything that happened, everything that you thought that quote unquote we decided, that was you, Lorne. And it took. And it's funny when you go back and listen to that. I don't have the clips. When you go back and listen to it, he says things like, "Oh, children can fall in love too," which is gross to think about. It's not the same as an adult relationship. It's more infatuation and kind of puppy love rather than. But he thinks children fall in love too, and he said that, and then I think Tiffany said no, and then in an instant you saw him try to. Not even backtrack. He's not smart enough to backtrack. He kind of just went on this rambling thing about his brother and like he's getting married after high school, and he's like, oh, I was trying to say what you were trying to say. It's like until that very second, he thought that that's an okay position to hold. He thought that's absolutely fine, and that's how he justifies his deviancy and his behavior. Is that oh, there were feelings involved. When that makes it worse. That makes it sad. The fact that you thought that you could find solace and companionship in a 13-year-old or 14-year-old, like the other victims. We don't know exactly how old they are. There's different theories out there, but at least we know one was 13, which was how we know him. It's amazing to think that until that very moment that she said, and I think what I don't even think it kind of went in one ear and out the other. He said that in the moment to kind of get Debbie off his back, because he knew that if he played along, maybe he could. He had a chance with her, but I honestly think that he still thinks that. He still thinks that to this day. I don't think anything, all the great work that the Debbie character did, none of it sunk in. It's all. Oh, excuse me. Let me turn that off 1 sec. Oh, sorry, I'm doing this live. I actually record these as a live stream and then I put it up later as a video. The reason is I cannot make a video because it takes too much work and I don't want to spend too much work talking about Lorne. Just the way it is. Anyway, we'll say so all the great work that Debbie did, none of it sunk in. So I think he's the same kind of person. And again, to kind of talk about what makes him the worst. I think all of these things make him the worst. But when you look in the context of To Catch a Predator, the show, and what you find is a lot of the guys that were on the show, when you look at their chat logs, for most of them, an argument could be made. I'm not going to make it, but an argument could be made that they were kind of more likely to be the opportunist type, which is what I thought Lorne was when you first saw him on the show. When I first saw him on the show, and all the stuff that's come out since has convinced me otherwise. That he's a serial predator, and he would offend again given the chance. Absolutely, which is again why I believe he should be in prison for the rest of his life. But other people on the show, you can see in their chat logs that, except for maybe Lorne and Resta Cruz and maybe Dustin McFetridge, Dustin McFetridge, that the way Lorne was talking. So a lot of the other guys, they're like, they find out how old they are, and it's straight onto the sex stuff. It's purely sexual. It's like it's all, and it's disgusting. It's disgusting. They're talking to a man like that. It's terrible. And again, they deserve everything that they got in terms of prison sentences, and some of them were not harsh enough in my opinion. And the Texas guys all got off, which is a shame due to the district attorney or the assistant district attorney. So, but you can see in a lot of them, it was pure kind of just lust and just okay. I just want to get my end away basically. But with Lorne, it's the grooming that, in my opinion, makes him worse. And not only the grooming, it's the grooming, it's the gaslighting, which I guess is kind of the same thing. It's the obsession with things about her that made her young. So I don't have a specific example, but I'm sure you can find some of the guys that are on the show where it's just like, hey, who are you? Blah blah. I'm this old, and like, okay, what have you done with your boyfriend? And blah blah. Would you want to have sex with me? Have you done this before, that before? And I'm coming to meet you. And usually they're like a page long, and it's like I'm over there within the 24 hours, 48 hours. They're there at the Sting house, ready to get nabbed by Chris Hansen. But with Lorne, he focused on details. It was that plus the focusing on details that reinforced how young she was. When he's asking her to count the hairs, like that's something that a lot of the other guys could make the argument that I lost track of her age. I just thought, oh, there's someone down, and they were into it, and I was into it, and I turned up. Oh, I forgot she was 13. I don't believe that actually happened, but they could make that case, I guess, kind of, not really, but sort of, more than Lorne can, which is where he's focusing on things that remind you that she is a young girl, counting the hairs down there. What if you getting her to touch herself in inappropriate ways? Wanting to know what a penis looks like. It's things that are obviously juvenile that he's attracted to in the instance that we can see, and goodness knows what happened with his other real life victims, and I can imagine it's along the same lines as what happened with Kayla. So I think we can kind of copy and paste that at the very least to his previous victims, and it's that which makes him truly disgusting. It's the focusing on the things that made her look young or be young. Like again, the other example is counting the hairs, because who asked that? Like if you're in an adult relationship and you're looking to hook up, maybe you ask, do you shave? That's something which Dustin knows about. Dustin McFetcher knows about. He always comes prepared. But in terms of growing, I didn't want to say it. Kind of turns my stomach to even think about it. That he was saying that to what he thought was a 13-year-old girl, and that he was turned on by that. And like, I don't know if you could make that case for many of the other guys. I think they were just, again, I don't want to sound like I'm defending anyone, because they all belong way, way, way down in hell somewhere. But is that it just as an extra layer of perversion and deviance and true kind of evil, if you ask me, because he knew what he was doing was wrong, but he did it anyway. He had done it before, and that excuse that he gave with his previous victim, that I realized that she was still growing up and going through school and she was too young, and that's why I broke it off, is nonsense. Because we know that he came along a couple of years later and tried it again with someone else. So, I guess in conclusion, that is why I find Lorne kind of one of the worst. It's kind of any one of these things plus his child predator status would be enough, but it's the compounding of each one of these points, and also just his fixation on how young and innocent, the type of clothes he wanted her to wear. It's that kind of robbing a child of their innocence in the most like vile way. Like all these guys were trying to do the same thing. All of them. Now, again, don't think I'm trying to make excuses for anyone. Not at all. Not at all. I'm just saying that he again, like his emotions, again, like his reaction to things, he just turns it all the way up to the point where it's just a perfect concoction of, yeah. Yeah, it's kind of hard to say. Let's hope that his real victims, there was no lasting damage there, and that they went on to live productive lives. And I'm thankful that Lorne's life will be misery from now on. At least I hope. And I hope you go back to prison soon. And I hope it's for a long, long time, preferably for life. But I'll take the 3 years that they're going to throw at you next time. So a bit of a shorter one today. But yeah, just I was thinking about this for the last couple of days and just wanted to kind of get that off my chest. If you've got anything else to add, if you think I missed something, or what is the one thing that kind of makes Lorne particularly bad in your eyes? Or do you think I'm wrong? Or do you think maybe he's not one of the worst? Or maybe you think there are some other... Tell me who you think is the worst as well. So let me know if you think what makes you believe that Lorne is this bad. Let me know if who you think might be even worse than him, because I'm sure there are many. Yeah, and I'm looking forward to reading everyone's comments down below.